I'm Terry Moore with the Unified Path. Today we're going to focus on the body with an expert, Ksenia Starc. Ksenia is a healer who uses multiple modalities with her clients, and she's going to be discussing those multiple modalities with us today, as well as offering us an exercise that we can use. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Ksenia, I'm so very glad to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Because I think of you as someone who really knows a lot about the practical use of the body and its place in one's life and in one's spiritual life. And maybe you could start by talking a little bit about either how you see the body and its role in one's whole life and spiritual life, and some of the other things about the areas that you've studied that are particularly of interest to you.
How I see the body, and I always say to all my clients when I meet them, it's your only home. It's your home. You'll never, I know Americans move a lot, so you always can pick up your stuff and get a better place with better weather and better light. It's not the case with the body. So you have to make it cozy, functional, and you have to befriend it. So like a space you live in. And that's how I treat my body and encourage everyone to be at home in their own body.
I love that phrase, your body is your only home. There's a lot of wisdom there. Now, could you expand a little and talk about how the body has a role in one's spiritual life?
Well, I would talk from my personal experience.
Please do.
It did help me to connect to awareness because my journey to raising this awareness started with awareness in the body. And my body was just like, for many people, like a roommate, I would say, that I was tolerating until it was hurting or giving me some troubles. And then I started to get curious, what, in terms of food, what affects it in a good way, what gives me energy, hydration, or sleep, rest, and then I just zoom into different parts of my body, not only when it was hurting, but when I felt it's weak, it's cold, and by zooming into my body, my viscera, I was practicing awareness that later I was able to apply to something bigger and something more spiritual.
Right. But as much as it's useful to focus on those moments when the body is being difficult, there must be practices you continue to do just to support the rest of your life.
Rituals. I would say. For myself, and that could be very whole variety of different things that make your body happy. And you know when you're happy, just take a snap, a photo of that mentally, of that feeling in the body. For me, it's sauna, a steam room. Recently, a cold plunge became a thing. So for me, it's quite opposite. I love heat, and I try to go once a month. So to be consistent, to give it to my body. I love free weights. For me, it's some sort of meditation. When I'm working out with weights, I only think about something tangible and measurable and really prevent my mind from wandering.
I think that's one of the important questions here, how you can use a technique like free weights to keep your mind from wandering. But overall, when you approach one of these techniques, how do you situate it, or how do you state your intention in terms of including it in your whole work?
So, and again, it all comes down to awareness. So when I use free weights, I think of muscles. So I zoom in into bicep or curling the arm or how much weight I'm holding in my hand, how many repetitions. So it become very tangible and measurable. And I'm just trying to stay with, and of course, I also love music. So it becomes some sort of a dance for me. So I stay rhythmical. And I just make an effort to think about the muscles or the body parts that are engaged and nothing else.
You make a very good point, and one that's very important in the unified path, in that these things do not necessarily have to be isolated. When you talk about body work and using the body as part of your whole spiritual life, you can introduce music, for example, as you say, as this mental or devotional or internal element, depending on how it's used. So that fits very concisely in terms of what we're after here. Now, one of the things that I'd like to hear more about, just because I know you and think of you as special, is the breadth of tools and techniques and things that you've studied in conjunction with using the body and making the body more of an asset. And then I have a follow-up question after that. But
Well, breath is foundation of everything, and not just the body, as you know, but having control and mindful breathing is the key of relaxation or contraction of the muscles and mind. So if you're not aware of your breathing, if your breathing is something that makes your central nervous system out of tune, you want to relax, but your breathing is superficial, and you're breathe through your mouth, and we know that nose breathing is very important. It's all just create that chaos that is you're basically fighting against, and is not helping any routine that you're doing. So first, you really have to be mindful of your breathing, and breathing meditation is the easiest, but the hardest at the same time. But it's very accessible, and this is how you probably can connect to your body 101 with your breath.
there's a lot of interest and a lot of literature currently about breath and breathing. But you also say that that is in many ways the most difficult. And I'd like to ask why that's so.
Because we so take it for granted. We're so do it automatically that we never apply awareness to something that our body is doing without us thinking, like everything else that we eating and watching TV, getting irritated and so on. And when you start paying attention how you're breathing and controlling your breathing, zooming in into your breathing, you can expand and you take another step further towards just a unified awareness of other aspects of your life, of irritation or frustration, emotions. But for me, it did start with bringing my awareness to my faulty breathing, and that would be mouth breathing, which actually was a quite enlightenment reading the book that's called Breath, and it opened up a whole new world and helped me to tap into something that wasn't just breathing, but initiated that journey.
Well, breathing is important, and as I said, there's a lot of interest in breathing at the moment. But how does one use that as part of a whole process rather than simply focusing in on breathing? Because I know some people who think that that's their only technique. That's what they do. But in fact, the breath and the body, for that matter, needs to fit within this suite of techniques that one uses to use one's whole self in this process. So how do you expand the notion of using breath or breathing with other parts?
So, and again, we can talk about my routine. When I exercise, I make sure that breathing exhalation of on making an effort when pushing or pulling is in tune with what I'm doing. So it's very rhythmic. So I'm focusing on engaging my body as much as it's in tune with inhale, exhale. When I need to get in a more relaxed state, I just get curious about quality of my breath. And my meditation is following my breath in and out. And belly breathing is not just belly breathing, but I'm trying to feel my viscera, imagine what it looks like, and zoom out from all the voices and topics that are clutter my head. And that's how I use breathing, is to energize the body and how to calm down, how to relax before go to sleep. I just breathe into different parts of my rib cage. Mm-hmm. And also I'm trying to visualize what it feels like for my breath to hit different parts of my rib cage, and then I fall asleep. It's really calming because it's taking that spotlight from day troubles or questions and things like that.
Well, that's all good, but there's more to the body than just breathing.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to ask you, now that we focused on breathing for a moment, what other aspects, qualities, techniques, rituals do you use as part of your routine?
Well, for me, water is a big element of detoxification. Detox as I'm drinking pure H2O, not any teas or even green juices are very hydrating, but I make sure I drink plenty of pure water. And for me, it's very symbolic because the first thing in the morning, it's a glass of water, and I start the day fresh. And at the end of the day, I take shower, and I follow the water just all the way down to the stream, and just detoxifying from the daily things that kind of got stuck. And every time I wash my hands and I look at the water in the tap, I'm thinking of all this negative energy is just washed out, and I'm starting clean. And it's also very powerful for me.
Well, there's certainly a lot of interest in ways of dealing with negative energy. And we've talked about breath, but there must be a handful of other techniques you use to dispense with, neutralize, get rid of, or transform negative energy. And I'd like to hear about some other approaches other than the breathing.
For me, is a big part of letting negative energy go and get rid of it in the body, is to acknowledge you have some negative emotions or physical pain, and acknowledge how it feels on the physical level, to locate it in your chest, in your stomach, in your viscera. And that's where manual therapy comes to play. Sometimes it's very hard to connect to your own body, and with leading hands, with someone who is taking you on this journey to explore your own body, can suggest that this is where you store something, and something that you can explore after on your own with meditation or all kind of practices that allow you to just zoom in into those areas.
Well, is one of the things you're saying is that if you have a negative emotion or a confrontation with a negative emotion, you can explore your body to find out where that comes from or where it lives?
A lot of time people don't really acknowledge a particular area of tightness or stagnation, or what I call it, and it's what it's called in Somato-Emotional release and Cranio-Sacral Therapy, energy cysts. And sometimes they're so passive that until someone is addressing it in manual therapy or energy therapy, you don't know it's there. But then once it's discovered, it's great to be with it and trace it again to how it started and let it resolve. And visualization of how it's being resolved is very helpful. If you see it as a vertex or energy cyst, and just by letting it go could be very helpful. It's Somato-Emotional release.
Are there particular schools of thought or readings or doctrines about these things that you found helpful?
Well, I've been studying with Craniosacral Therapy under Upledger Institute. Dr. Upledger was an American osteopath, and he made sure that Craniosacral Therapy, which is basically an osteopathic technique from Europe, became very accessible in the United States. But there are also visceral manipulation that was brought to the United States by Barral, Jean-Pierre Barral, and he's a French osteopath, and he works with viscera in different organs. And it's probably there are two of my mentors, teachers that I read and follow, and who've been, well, Dr. Upledger passed away, but Dr. Barral is very active, and he still discovers a lot of Somato-Emotional aspects of our body and how to treat it.
Does all of that tend to be focused on finding out what's wrong or finding out the negatives, or where negative emotions live? And is there a counterpart to that where one can look for the positive things to amplify?
I wouldn't say it's about just about finding what's wrong. It's about to facilitate the body to repair itself, because I don't think we are 100% have, it's not about go in and fix things, trauma, physical, emotional, spiritual void. It's about being in that mental, spiritual, physical state where things are happening and your body just able to repair itself, and it has its wisdom to do it. You just need to hold that space to facilitate.
To allow it to find its own wisdom.
Exactly.
That leads me to another question, which is in terms of adding the element of the body to one's whole life or spiritual path. What does one look for? What suggestions can you make for where to start, or what to look for, or what qualities in yourself to address? Because this is a big topic, the body, and there are many ways of approaching it. And one of the questions is, if I'm going to add this dimension to my life and my practice, which one do I use and where do I start?
I think intuitively, what feels right is what makes you happy, and that make you happy as you were as a child. Something that I think in Chinese language it's called Jing. It's that source of energy that is, and it sounds like Jing. It's it could be dance, it could be just brisk walk, and you just start feeling it, how nice it feels in the body. And if you don't feel like you have energy or time, you can always come to some professional who will guide you and inspire you. I think getting inspired and getting curious, it's very contagious. And to find a person who you trust and who can be your mentor just to initiate that journey is very important, because we know what we know, and sometimes it's limited, and just wondering what else is out there could be very just the beginning of a wonderful journey.
Well, I'm sure that's true, and I might add that your enthusiasm has been inspiring to me.
Oh, thank
I've learned
you.
a lot from that. But I'd like to hear more about the various dimensions of physical work that you are interested in and that you do. And I know that you mentioned cranial sacred work. I know you've also been involved in Mayan thoracic therapy. And what other qualities, what other dimensions, what other areas are there that
So
you've looked at?
I started as a massage therapist, training. I've been in this field for 15 years, and I was trained in very Western hands-on techniques, and then I proceed with corrective exercises. So I was very hands-on, muscle, bones, joints kind of approach. And during the pandemic, I started noticing that a lot of physical pain was not coming for objectively an injury or something that was making person worse on the physical level, but that was isolation of, and the really scary situation with the pandemic, what pandemic brought. And that was one of the reasons why I started looking for alternative therapists to help my returning patients, to help them, to facilitate, to get better, because I don't like saying that I'm fixing someone or so I'm just holding that space. And that Somato-Emotional release and Cranio-Sacral Therapy that help the person to balance their central nervous system, to be able to tap into the place where they can start healing, and without any second party involved. That was a big breakthrough for me. And then I discovered sound therapy, tuning forks applied to acupuncture points, and visceral manipulation, and Mayan abdominal massage, which I mostly work with my female clients, and that's been deeply rooted into Mayan wisdom of female pelvis being a root and foundation of female's psychic and the mind. And from that perspective, a lot of things can be fixed, not just on the physical level, and fixed, again, by holding the space for their body and mind and spirit to balance themselves.
To heal itself,
To heal,
as you're saying.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it's absolutely incredible how many modalities are out there, how much to learn, and I'm constantly learning, and every time I learn something new, I just get inspired again and again, and I want to pass it on my clients, and it's really beautiful how by befriending your body, you can really thrive in so many other aspects.
Yes, indeed. Now, in terms of using the body, in terms of one's whole path, how can you suggest one approach bringing the body into this mix without sacrificing one's other efforts, for example, learning the mind or the heart or the soul, as we call it, the interiorizing functions? But I've just known so many people who have gotten involved in bodily work, and that's become their whole world. And yet it still needs to fit within a continuum or within a complex. And what would you suggest?
Where to start? I'm sorry.
Where to start, and where and how to keep it in its correct compartment, or how big that compartment should be, even though that's an individual that varies from individual to individual.
Well, that's where rituals come to play. I think it's very important to have some nurturing rituals that make you just, again, that you feel like you're doing something good for your body. And as simple as that, drinking water, green juice, putting lotion on your body, taking with some essence oil, and inhaling some great coffee. Just it all comes through the body, and then you're caring of someone with this unconditional love. And it has to be unconditional, because the body can be, as a child, very stubborn, and you still have that patience there'll be another day when you do same thing, even though it's acting up. And this is who, this is, I don't also like to say this is who you are, because we know
That's a bigger question.
yeah.
Yes.
And so even when I meditate, I'm trying to think of a breath being taken. When I think about mindful breathing, when I'm doing it, I'm for myself, I never say taking a breath, and a breath being taken, a long breath. And that's why I try to not to objectify. So this is my body, and this is what I'm doing. This is who I am. I don't take this body for granted, or anyone's. It's just part of the universe. And
This is all very helpful, because, as you say, how one approaches this with one's intention and attitude and mindfulness is important in getting as much out of it as you can, yet not taking it for the whole of you. I think that's a very important point.
And it brings us to this concept that I also find very important, that we're part of everything. We're nothing and everything. And it doesn't make you so selfish with your body. So you don't ask it to do certain things. It expands what it is. And it's a part of this wholesome of the universe that is very organic and very rhythmic. So just find that rhythm, stay tuned with everything, with nature. It's easier when you think that your body is just continuation of something bigger than just your skin.
Part of a whole.
Part of the whole. Yes.
Very good. You've just said that these practices are important to everyone, and everyone is, of course, different and have their own individual needs for different kinds of practices, although the body needs to be one of those. But in that context, you have a couple of simple techniques that are available for everyone that maybe you could demonstrate for us.
Sure. Do you want to do it with me?
Yes,
I will ask you to uncross your legs and have your feet on the ground. Just lean back, get comfortable, and have your hands anywhere you like. And let's start with just simple breathing. As we know, breathing through the nose is important. And it could be a long breath or shorter breath. It doesn't matter, as long as you're not forcing it. Just very natural. And then connecting to your feet on the ground. Just feel your feet and the quality of the carpet under, how it feels. It feels quite soft. And then what sensations do you have under your hands? How does your fabric of the pants feel under your feet, your hands? And then zooming in into your breath. Just acknowledge how quality of your breathing is different from inhale to exhale. Is it shorter on inhale or exhale? And expanding your diaphragm a little more and more each time. If you feel that blood circulation is increasing, feeling that heat in your fingertips or maybe the back of your neck or your head, and feeling your feet again, feeling rooted. This is your grounding. This is always available for you, just to feel your feet. It will be always there, regardless of external circumstances. You'll be grounded by just feeling what's under your feet and get curious. And then where you're rooted, where you're sitting right now, it's always there for you. So you can just explore how it feels. And then moving up to your back. Checking if you have any tension in the shoulders or the neck, and just relaxing everything and just feeling for the quality of your breath and objects you're leaning on. Moving up to your jaw, feeling any tension there. Is there anything you're still holding on to? Your eyes, and then going all the way up to the crown of your head. Exploring what's there. Is it open? Does it feel tight? Does it feel light? Do you feel like something is pressing from the above, or and then just listening to the sound outside, and acknowledging if you smell something, and the quality of the sound. Do you like it or not? And just acknowledge it all. Your body, your feet on the ground, the sounds outside, and just feeling connected to it all. Just leaving that body, connecting to what's outside. Feeling it, feeling that unity. There is no more outside, inside, just one unity, and the quality of it, how it feels like, just acknowledge it. And you can open your eyes slowly and see if something is different. I think it's brighter and more saturated after that practice.
And I seem to be more present too.
Yeah, it's great to zoom in and zoom out. I think it's very powerful, and the more you practice it, the better you get into connecting to different parts, leaving that frame, connecting to something that you acknowledge is a part of the universe around us.
Part of that one you were talking about. Well, Ksenia, is there anything else you'd like to suggest or offer or mention while we're here?
I would like to take this opportunity again to remind people who watch your channel to befriend the body and to use it for awareness, raising awareness from its physical aspects to spiritual, because this is a very powerful tool to connect to something we cannot see or touch, and it can initiate a journey, that spiritual journey that a lot of people have a problem to initiate. And I think by raising awareness of emotions that trapped in the body, physical sensations, what makes it happy, what upsets it, it's a great beginning to start that path.
I think you're exactly right. The body is an essential element of our whole practice. And not only that, as you said at the start, it's our only home.
Yes.
Ksenia, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me and for this opportunity to share my experience with you and your audience. I'm very honored to be here.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Ksenia Starc, and I'd be interested in your observations. What did you learn today? What observations do you have on those modalities, and what did you learn from the mindfulness exercise? Please leave us your comments below. Like and subscribe, and also, until next time, remember, body, mind, heart, soul, one.